Hello everyone and welcome back once again. This is your science teacher here, and this time I am here with the new chapter of grade 7 science Ncert textbook, that is physical and chemical changes. Students, every day we come across many changes that are taking place all around us, and these changes may involve one or more substances. Well, students, I hope you all must have noticed changes around you. Just look at your mom cooking and transforming the boring vegetables into yummy curries. Have you ever imagined how does that happen? Students, in this chapter we will cover all of it and know that what are physical and chemical changes. We will also discuss their subtypes and properties, and by the end of this chapter you would have known all about the magic of a melting of ice and many more. So let's start. So students, as I said, that in our everyday life we basically come across many kind of changes. For example, like dissolving sugar in water or flattening off a metal rod by beating it. And students, the changes that we basically come across in our everyday life involve changes in the form of the substances. So on the basis of that, changes basically categorize into two main categories, and that are physical changes and chemical changes. Now students, let's discuss each and every type of changes elaborately. So students, the first change that we are going to discuss here is physical changes. Students, physical change is a type of change where basically the physical properties, means to say the physical appearance of a matter changes. And students, the physical properties mainly involves the color, density, shape, size and volume of any substance. Means the change in the color, density, shape, size and volume of any substance are termed as physical changes. And students, as I said, this change occurs when there is an alteration in the physical properties of a substance. And students, during a physical change, neither the composition nor the chemical nature of matter is changed, or we can say that the physical change doesn't result in the formation of any new substance, but it can alter the physical properties of the existing substance. Like it may change in the color, density, shape, size, volume of existing substance. Students, a common example of physical change is the conversion of states of water. As you all know that ice, water and steam are the three physical states of water. But students, all the three form contains H2O. Students, other examples of our everyday life where we basically come across this kind of change are weeping egg albumin, crushing of tomato, breaking of a bar magnet, etc. Now students, as you can see here are some more example of physical changes. As the first one, you can see here crushing a can, melting an ice cube, boiling water, mix sand with water, breaking glass, dissolving sugar in water, shredding paper, chopping wood, green and red marbles, sublimation of dry ice, etc. So students, in all these examples, the changes are basically involved in the physical property of a substance. Now student, the second main category of changes is chemical changes. Students, chemical change is a change that changes by affecting the internal structure of the substance to form a new substance. And students, in chemical changes, chemical property of a substance are those characteristic, or you can say those properties of a substance that describes its chemical nature. For example, toxicity of a substance or how a substance reacts with other substance is its chemical property. And the most important thing about chemical change is that whenever a substance undergo this kind of change, means chemical change, then always a new substance is formed. For example, rusting of iron occurs when iron gets in contact with moisture. Secondly, formation of medicines. Now, some more example of chemical changes are iron rusting, burning of wood, metabolism of human body, cooking of an egg, baking of a cake, electroplating, rotting of banana, vinegar and baking soda mixture, firecrackers or fireworks, chemical battery, etc. Students, all these examples involves the change in the chemical property of the substance, and students, in all these cases always a new substance is formed. So all these are included in the category of chemical changes. Students, whenever a chemical change occurred, then it always go together with any one or all of the following ways, like radiation or absorption of heat, production of sound, change in the color of the substance, change in the smell of the substance, formation of a gas, and formation of a solid as residue. Now students, let's discuss each elaborately. As the first one here, absorption of heat means, students, burning of a substance such as coal, wood or candle always results in the production of heat, and hence it is considered as a chemical change. Similarly, melting of ice results in the absorption of heat. Therefore, it is also considered as a chemical change. The next property is formation of a gas. Students, have you ever noticed that whenever we suffered from gastric problems, then we basically take antacids, and students, when we mixed antacid in water, then bubbles are formed, and that indicate the production of a gas, and therefore it is considered as a chemical change. The next physical property is change in the color of the substance. Students, have you ever noticed that whenever raw fruits and vegetables, when cut and left in open air, then they start acquiring brown color, and students, this is just because due to the change in the chemical property of the substance. Similarly, as in the case of a rusting of iron. Students, when iron comes in contact with moisture and air, then color of the iron slowly changes from silver to reddish in color. The next property is change in the smell of the substance. Students, have you ever noticed that whenever food gets spoiled, it produces foul smell? And students, this happens just because due to the change in the chemical property of the food. Similarly, as in the case of rotten eggs, students, when the eggs are spoiled, then they often produce a bad odor, means smell, and this is just because due to the production of sulfur in them. The next property is formation of solids. Students, as you all know, when two liquids combine with each other, then they form a solid called precipitate. For example, shells of animals are precipitate formed by the chemical change. For example, shells of animals, and students, these cells of animals are basically formed by the precipitate of two different kind of liquids. So it is considered as a chemical change. Now students, the next important topic of your this chapter is rusting of iron. Students, as you all know, when the iron comes in contact with oxygen and water, then it reacts with iron and forms a red colored substance over it. And students, this red color substance over iron is called rust. As you can see here also, this reddish layer over the iron chain is rust. Students, this rust is the type of corrosion and it happens to iron and its alloys when it exposed to air or water, as I said earlier. And this rust slowly decomposes iron into other chemicals because of a reaction with the oxygen molecule. And students, as I said, this rust appears on metal if it is left outside in the damp air. For example, rust occurs mostly in cracks of alloys or metals. Then rainwater can enter the cracks and stay in the cracks and cause the metal to corrode, and eventually it becomes rust. And students, then due to this rust, iron is not strong after it rusted. So students, it is very important to prevent the iron from getting rusted. So students, there are basically two methods by which we can prevent the iron from getting rusted. The first one, by applying paint on iron objects so that they cannot come in contact with oxygen and moisture in the environment. Means, students, in order to prevent the iron from rusting, we basically apply paint on iron, because paint acts as a barrier between iron and the oxygen and moisture in the environment. Because paint acts as a barrier between iron and oxygen and moisture in the environment, and that's how paint can prevent the iron from getting rusted. The second one, galvanization. Students, galvanization is basically a process in which a layer of zinc or chromium is coated over iron in order to prevent them from rusting. And students, that's how by adopting these two methods we can prevent the iron from getting rusted. Now students, the next important topic of your this chapter is crystallization. Students, crystallization is basically a process of obtaining crystals of a pure substance from its solution. For example, we can obtain the crystal of copper sulfate by boiling copper sulfate solution. As you can see here in this figure, this one is a tumbler containing boiling water, and over this boiling water is a china dish containing copper sulfate solution. So students, as soon as the water start boiling, then due to the heat of this boiling water, the china dish also started heating. And students, due to the heat of the boiling water, the china dish also start heating, due to which copper sulfate solution also heated. Then students, after heating the copper sulfate solution for some times, then when you leave it for cooling, then you will observe some bluish color crystal on this solution. And students, these crystals are basically the copper sulfate crystals, and that's how we can get the copper sulfate crystal from the copper sulfate solution. Students, similarly, you can also get the crystals of sugar from its sugar solution, or salt crystals from its salt solution. Now students, that's all about your this chapter, and with this topic here, your chapter number 6 is completed. Now I will be come back soon with another chapter. Till then, stay home, stay safe and stay healthy.